All right, joining me right now, former Obama campaign manager Jim Messina for more perspective on this. So, Jim, first, your take on the Clyburn endorsement. How important?
It's a big moment. You know, I'm skeptical of endorsements usually, but Jim Clyburn's is the one endorsement I would want in South Carolina. He has real organizational skills. He has real field on the ground. And more importantly, he's the person that people look to say, who should I vote for? And with half this field undecided, with just a few days left, that's the endorsement I think is a very significant one.
That's so interesting. So then about last night, everyone going after Bernie Sanders. Do you think anyone left a mark, though?
It's a good question. Some of these people need to start doing it on TV and on digital, right? And with paid communication. I think the one hit that hurt him last night was Joe Biden going after him on gun control, saying he voted against the Brady bill 5 times. I think that's the hit I think could have some lasting impact. And, you know, it was interesting to see how Bernie Sanders dealt with those attacks, Kate. And I think for the most part, he just tried to stay above it, ducked, and went back to his message pretty effectively. So a lot of people punching him, but I'm not sure he took some blows that he'll really be feeling this morning.
Yeah. And then there are a lot of folks who think that this was Biden's strongest debate. I mean, do you think this was a just-in-time kind of scenario for him to really show up for the debate to save his campaign in South Carolina? Well, before just as South Carolina votes. And also, this is the final debate before Super Tuesday.
Yeah, it was a big moment for him, right? He had to have it. As Zelny said, he has to win South Carolina or his candidacy is over. And I think that his strong debate last night combined with the Clyburn endorsement today is a very big moment for him and I think puts him back in the driver's seat. And I would expect him to win South Carolina. And then we go into Super Tuesday. But remember, Kate, about half of Super Tuesday voters are already going to have voted early. And so people are voting today, tomorrow, this weekend. And so, you know, this debate was a very big moment for Joe Biden.
Yeah, they're not necessarily waiting to see what happens in South Carolina before they're already having their say. So you said about Bloomberg when going into the debate that Bloomberg needed to do 2 things other than, quite frankly, do better. Spend less time talking about his past and spend more time talking about his vision for Democrats and how he can be the one to beat Donald Trump. Do you think he did that?
I think he was certainly better, which wouldn't be hard.
I was going to say low bar.
Right, it's a low bar. I thought he was better. I thought he was calmer and more efficient. I think he held his own. You know, in a 7-way debate, it's super hard to do the 2 things he had to do. But here's the truth. I'd rather have his $500 million of TV ads than one debate performance last night. And so I think he's feeling like he got through it last night, and now he's going to go back and make the case to voters with $1 kajillion of TV ads.
So on the kajillion dollars, Jeff Zeleny, our dear friend, my dear friend, he poses a really interesting question. Why, if he has a kajillion dollars, why isn't he spending those kajillion dollars on anti-Bernie Sanders ads versus what we're seeing out there in his paid media so far?
I think it is a question Democrats across the country are asking this morning. Really only Joe Biden is on TV hitting Bernie right now, and Bernie's sort of alone. And it is the one thing that needs to happen, people holding Sanders accountable on some of these issues we talked about last night. I understand the theory, which is Bloomberg doesn't want to hurt someone who could be the Democratic nominee, and he wants to spend his time and money talking about himself and Donald Trump. I think the issue, though, is 40% of voters are going to vote in the next week, and people are making up their minds every day, and someone's got to point out Bernie Sanders' flaw, and he has the biggest checkbook. So I would expect that to happen, and frankly, I'm surprised it hasn't happened so far.
So you had Warren making a decision to focus a lot, again, on Mike Bloomberg, rather than going after the front-runner Bernie Sanders, kind of along the lines we're talking about. I wonder about her decision, but also then it all folds into this insanity of all of the yelling last night. I mean, it was literally, it appeared really only Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar that were not yelling at each other. Throw up that picture, you guys, from Getty Images that is kind of encapsulates everything that we know from last night. I don't know if you can see it, Jim, but it's Amy Klobuchar in between Joe Biden and Tom Steyer, looking like they're going to go to fisticuffs. What did you think of that? I mean, you've been part of many a debate prep.
Yeah, I thought it was a weird strategy, right? Let's go to Warren first. I totally agree with you, Kate. The thing Warren had to do was slow Bernie Sanders down, and she spent more time talking about Michael Bloomberg, and I understand why. She had a big fundraising night when she did it last week, and she raised some money she absolutely had to have. But she's competing with these voters with Bernie. She's not competing for voters who are trying to decide between her and Michael Bloomberg. So I'm not sure I understood that theory. On the screaming, I do think that it was one of those moments where everyone had to have a big night and they just really wanted to go after it. It was sort of the cage match that Democrats were waiting for. And, Democrats want to start to figure out who to vote for. I thought Mayor Pete had a good night trying to stay above it. Yeah. I thought Bloomberg tried a little bit to stay above it. We'll see. But a whole bunch of people are making up their minds. And if you're a candidate right now, you'd throw the kitchen sink at it. And sadly enough, on national TV last night, Kate, they did.
Yeah, and at some point, folks at home are likely saying, what? I can't hear any of you, as we often say on television. When you all yell at each other, nobody can hear anything. It's good to see you, Jim.